Check, check. What's up, guys? Can everybody hear me okay? Waiting for the little lag. I can't see the chat while my thing is playing. So when you hear me, let me know that you can hear me. I hate the little lag. I'm sorry about that. Alan Hilburn, what's going on, buddy? Tom Ryan. Hello, Ireland. How are you, my friend? Richie Walker. Bond Experience, what's going on? Boy, that light is really intense. Kevin Rogers, what's up? Alan. Come on, I'm working on the beard. It's growing. I hope that dials it back a little bit. Tom Ryan, what's going on? Lloyd Nance, what's going on? Intrepid 007, what's going on? Oliver, Bon Brain, what's going on? Grant O'Brien, John Riggs. Oh, good crowd. What's going on, guys? So can you hear me all right? Diamonds are being James Bond's best friend. Greetings from Jersey, John Riggs. Oh, that's right. Mark Smith, Texas. It's wine o'clock. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I have to tell you about my my choice today. Well, I can't get this light right, can I? Sorry about that. Brazil, what's going on? Argentina, what's going on? Tim Hands, what's up? It's wine o'clock. Hello from Nyack. Oh my God, dude, you're like my neighbor. That's crazy. Ryan, 007 Baker, what's up? Commander Bond, what's going on? Good evening, good evening. Belgium, Irishman in Belgium. Oh, cool. Super cool. Best of both worlds. Martin, what's up? We came out tonight for you. You did. Thank you, my friend. Head of section, hello. The Bond Influence, what's going on? Kyle, what's up? What's up, Kyle? All right. Let's get this sucker started. Boy, my lighting is awful. What can I do about that? I guess we'll figure that out next time. Maybe I'll just... That might help a little bit. I hope we won't hear Diamonds Are Forever being high on the list. Well, if you've seen my if you've seen anything I've ever done before, you know that's probably not a problem. All right, so let's get rolling. By the way, I wanted to do a special shout out. I wanted to wear my I don't have it handy, but a good friend of mine sent me a mask, a surgical mask that was homemade, and it was really kind of super cool of that person to do that. So I just wanted to sort of say thank you to my friend John Broughton, and if you're ever in the market for pocket squares, custom pocket squares, and he's doing something now called a pocket round, which actually looks pretty interesting. You might want to check out Bespoke JB. I know they're on Instagram and other places, so check them out. So what's going on right now? Well, I'll tell you what. What I would like to do is tell you how I decided to come up with my cocktail today. We always do a cocktail for a live stream. So what was I had a fancier glass, but this is my other favorite glass, by the way. Kind of learned something sort of interesting. So we're all hunkering down. I hope everybody is staying safe, by the way. I hope you're doing what you need to do. Staying home, staying out of the crowds, keeping your face covered. There was a lot of back and forth about the masks. I'm kind of fully on board with the mask now, so do the mask thing. So we've been hearing a lot on the news about hydrochloroquine. Now this is sort of a head of section. Where the hell are you going with this? Now this is kind of interesting, isn't it? The hydrochloroquine has been in the news. It has been used to fight C-19, which, by the way, you shouldn't say on YouTube because apparently they demonetize you. Apparently they don't want to hear about it. So why am I talking about this? Well, I was kind of reading up on this a little bit. I guess I should have planned that a little bit better. I was reading up just a little bit on this, and I was like, what is hydrochloroquine? So I read about it, and apparently it comes from what we know to be quinine. Um, Chloroquine, by the way, has been around for a long time. I don't think people realize that. It's not just something that got made up yesterday. It's been around for a long time, and they use it to treat malaria. Um, and it comes from quinine. And I kind of started to ask myself, now, why does that sound familiar? Quinine sounds familiar to me. Well, it kind of just kind of hit me, like, where have I heard quinine before? Yeah, that's where I heard that. So I, I kind of was like, well, wait a second. All right. And apparently, this quinine comes from the. Oh boy, I'm gonna mispronounce this one. But it comes from the root, the bark of this certain tree. Tonic water was originally existed as a way to deliver quinine, which was an anti-malarial drug derived from the bark of the South American cinchona tree. Kinkona, and I'm gonna lose my card for that one. So basically, this is where it comes from. So that's how I decided for my cocktail, I'm gonna make myself something with tonic. And by the way, I was not at all the only person to figure this out, because after I read this article and I kind of went, wait a second, I looked it up and I said, yes, that is indeed quinine. Well, I went to the my local liquor store to find some tonic water. They were out. I went to the grocery store next door. They were also out. So apparently, this is kind of going. This is like, I would normally have like Schweppes or Canada Dry or something. So apparently, the secret's already out. I thought I was so smart that I kind of figured this out first. But with that in mind, we're gonna make a little gin and tonic to enjoy our live stream. And you can hear a little hard. That was a pretty hearty glug there. And I'm so irritated that I couldn't even get. Oh, and I forgot to cut. I was gonna cut up some cucumber to put in this. I guess after the video I'll come back with some cucumber. So I couldn't even get regular tonic water. I had to get diet tonic water. And I forgot my little stir in the kitchen as well. So here we go. Like I said, I wanted to put a little cucumber in here, but I will. I guess I'll do that in a little bit. Cheers, guys! Happy quarantine, and again, I hope everybody's staying safe. I hope we get through this quickly, and we can enjoy each other's company very soon. Alan Hellburn, G&T with beef eaters. I knew he would stick to his beef eaters. Fun experience. I knew I was going to learn something tonight. There you go. So tonic water. I mean, it's quite literally like tonic. The reason why they even call it tonic, because it was something that was created as an elixir to heal. And by the way, I should probably underscore, I'm not saying to drink gin and tonics to cure you of C19, but what the hell, it can't hurt. Gin and fish tank cleaner. There you go, Bond Brain. Cheers, Bond Experience. So, Shane, what's up? Tom Ryan, cheers, brother. So, okay. So what else did I want to sort of mention? So, again, we're kind of all stuck in the house, and one of the reasons why I decided to do a live stream was because, well, first of all, Operation Stay at Home was a gigantic success. I mean, Looney Tunes successful. Kind of beyond my wildest expectations. And as Dave Zaritzky can tell you, I've kind of been sort of chomping at the bit a little bit between then and now to do another one. Not really, but a little bit. And, again, I mean, obviously this is not going to be to the scale that was. But, we're all sort of in the mode of trying to fill people's time. I mean, again, if you're like me, you're working from home, you're staying pretty busy. But I can imagine that a lot of people are just sort of stuck with very little to do. So again, why not do a live stream? I think I would definitely like to see these a little more often. And I kind of felt like since I figured I would combine some actual content with the live stream. So it's not just kind of like just live streams all the time for no reason. So with that in mind, I kind of wanted to highlight some other YouTubers who are really doing pretty incredible jobs. Uh, Here's a guy, you know him very well. I'm sorry, I'm sort of scooting in the wrong direction. Um, Calvin Dyson, he did a Codename video. I thought it was spectacular. Um, I heard people going back and forth a little bit about the Codename afterwards. I think the Codename thing, I think whoever even like invented this kind of was doing it with a wink and a nudge. I mean, it's very obviously not, couldn't be a thing. I mean, you're giving the filmmakers a lot of credit that they planned years, 20, 30, 40, 50 years out, that when a new actor takes over, it'll really be a secret code. So Fleming didn't write a code name, but I thought Calvin's his take on it was excellent. It really kind of went through the steps of how you can sort of break this down into the nuts and bolts. He's got me reading some John Gardner again. I love that he continued on to do the books. He did the whole series of Fleming books, and it was incredible. And I love how he breaks it all down. And honestly, I read all the Flemings. I have not read all the Bensons. I think I read like one maybe. I'm pretty sure it was not this one. So I might kind of, now that he's doing that, I might take an opportunity to keep going and do some more. James Bond Radio, you can always count on these guys for good content. I mean, what they did with this, they've been doing a whole series about Jamaica, and how timely, because the new film is going to be in Jamaica, so they go back to Live and Let Die and all the locations there. Really cool stuff, very good stuff, and again, they really, you know that they're not short on content, so they broke it out into several videos. It's really good stuff. James Bond Canada, what's going on? They've been cranking out stuff, which is pretty cool. Again, I like that they're kind of getting a little more involved in the whole YouTube thing. They did Jeff Wybo of James Bond Canada just did a thing on the Bulldog. Very cool. Everybody should have one of these. Maybe. And Murray Gillespie with 007 Minutes. I just watched his first one the other day. The James Bond exhibitions. This was really cool. I like that a lot. He's going to do 7-minute videos, give or take. And he's talking about all the times where they had some sort of an exhibition. Bond in motion, designing Bond. That was a great one. I love that one when I saw that. So Murray's talking about them. They're a lot of fun. And Murray's he's got a great personality. So a lot of fun to watch. From Tailors with Love. Oh, my goodness. The N. Peel sweater, military sweater. I watched the other day. You have to watch these guys. First of all, you have to listen to the podcast. The From Tailors with Love podcast is incredible. And Peter Brooker from Tailors with Love. He's got a great personality, and it really comes through when he's doing videos. He's got a very dry sense of humor. Very, very dry. He's had me in stitches laughing not that long ago. The Bond Complex, our friends from Canada. Very good guys. And this was an event. They did a video about an event they attended. Let's Bond. This was really cool to watch. Kind of reminded me of the Washington, D.C. New Year's event that I go to every so often. Haven't done it in a while. I might be due. In fact, maybe this year more than ever, frankly. The Bond Armory. Holy cow. The new 2020 Walther PPK. He just put a teaser out. And honestly, if you guys are remotely into this, he's the guy to talk to. And if you're interested in the Walther PPK, there you go. You can't get better than that from a guy who knows what he's talking about. The newest gun from an expert. The Bond Bulletin. If you guys are not watching the Bond Bulletin, frankly, you probably should write some of these down. They're worthy of taking notes and really going to see. The Bond Bulletin is awesome. He really does. This is Benjamin Lin who does this channel, and he's very talented and very knowledgeable. I can watch his stuff just for his graphics. He's been doing a series about the where he's just taken the movies and kind of like shown highlights with these little graphics. It was like he did like 1962 to 1969, then like 70 to 79. Really cool. I love how he does his work. And this one here he did about the special effects, and he gets into how they use rear projection. And I really like this a lot because he goes into how the Bond films used rear projection in a number of ways, and you can see the progression. because he'll show you like clips from Dr. No where James Bond has got the car right behind him, and Bond is doing this, and you see the headlight is like this big and right behind him. How they really perfected it to the point where you don't notice it anymore. In fact, he showed a clip from For Your Eyes Only when Bond was climbing the cliff right as the guy kicks him off, and you see more rolling down the rock right before the stuntman goes over. And honestly, it kind of hit me. I was like, wow, I never really noticed that was rear projection. I mean, I kind of, again, it kind of got past me. So, I mean, they do it pretty well these days. So he really broke down like every shot. It's really good. I mean, like I said, he really does good stuff, and it's really worth checking out if you're not already. If you need a laugh, if you need a chuckle, Mark O'Connell from Catching Bullets, he did a video which was hysterical called For Queen and Country, and it's extremely worth checking out. Like I said, if you need a chuckle, it had me in stitches. On the tracks of 007, this is great. Martin Mulder, again, he's very conscious of the fact that we're all sort of laid up and stuck inside, and he says, so what can I do about it? He created VR experiences. You have to go to his website, On the Tracks of 007, but I saw this video on YouTube, and I went to his site and I checked out some of the videos. Again, very funny. He puts on it very clearly like this is meant for fun, but he's got enough video of, like, I mean, you can take the drive, that the opening of On Her Majesty's Secret Service. He literally, and I'm pretty sure this happened while I was with him, so I think I was literally taking this drive that you're gonna watch, but he just plopped the camera on the front of the bus, I think, and basically as we were driving on that road, that same road where Tracy passes him from behind, and then he comes up to the beach where he sees her. He does it. So you see that drive, and you can see like the windmill in the distance. You can see it like the same way it is in the movie. So it's really pretty cool. Like, again, it's kind of meant just to be kind of tongue in cheek and fun, but very kind of interesting, right? For location hunting, etc. And just kind of feeling like you were there. So it was actually pretty cool. I would definitely check that out. Our good buddy John Clark from Haphazard Stuff, he put out something recently, and it's not Bond related, but again, we know Haphazard Stuff from his Bond videos. And I cracked up watching this. This was really funny stuff. So if you need a chuckle, you need something a little more lighthearted, there you go. And that one Bond guy, I can't forget our newcomers to the world of James Bond. And he's doing interviews. Well, he's actually he started out doing interviews. In fact, I was his first one, which I'm very proud to say. And he's kind of kept that going. Definitely need that cucumber. He's kept it on going. So he's doing a lot of interviews, but he's also doing these sort of frugal Bond, getting the outfit right. And he's really come up with some interesting stuff. I like it a lot. This time he's talking to Commando Bond, who was nice enough to send me a couple stickers. Boy, it's hard to do this when you're watching the thing. So thank you, Caleb, for those. That was very nice. So check out that one Bond guy. Again, good stuff. And of course, one of our other ones, the James Bond aficionado, also doing interviews worth checking out. And of course, most recently, he interviewed Calvin Dyson. And it was a great, again, a very fun conversation. Definitely worth checking out. And some guy, the Bond I'm not sure. I'm not sure. The Bond Experience, I guess it is. Some guy in a suit. Anyway, he's got some great stuff out. He's worth checking out. The Tom Ford Navy suit from No Time to Die. I'm sure you've probably already seen this. But yeah, pretty spectacular. Great editing, by the way. Really good editing. He did something recently on the safari suit with several different safari suits from the a lot from the Roger Moore years. Is it all from the Roger Moore years? I think it is. I mean, Roger Moore was all about the safari suit. So yeah, had to soup to nuts about the safari suit. Very cool stuff. And by the way, he also just finished The Beers of Bond. It was a 2-parter, and one of the reasons why I wanted to stick this one in is because you can check out my friend Kyle. Kyle, who is over on Instagram under Easy Smiles and Expensive Watches. Again, very knowledgeable, very diehard Bond fan. and his trade, his profession is in the beer industry. So when he and Zaritsky got together to talk about beers, I mean, Kyle really knows his stuff. So it's all about the different beers that Bond drinks. You would think it's not many, but interestingly, and it was great too because I loved it because it was literary Bond and cinematic Bond. You know, Bond from the books and Bond from the movies. So I thought that was really cool. Oh, by the way, speaking of live streams and speaking about the Bond experience and Calvin Dyson, mark your calendars. The 18th live stream. Calvin and David together going to be doing a live stream. I will definitely be checking that out. And that sounds like a lot of fun. It'll be cool to see, again, I like these guys together. A lot of fun. So that should really be cool. Is that my last one? I think it is. And by the way, so I would also be very remiss if I didn't mention, in addition to these great YouTubers that are going to keep us occupied for a while, podcasters. Another James Bond podcast. Very fun podcast. Again, he's more of the Bond fan, and she's again the what we call the Bond widows. He's his wife, and she's not exactly a Bond fan, but together they're watching the films, and they have really interesting insights, and it's great because her, like, again, we've seen the film a million times. We could recite to anybody by heart our feelings about them, what we know, what we like, what we dislike. But when you bring in a newcomer, it adds some perspective. More interesting, new, fresh insights. So I would definitely check out another James Bond podcast, and you can tell from the icon, you'll spot it very quickly. Another one that I just heard about today, actually. I didn't realize that my good friend Donnie Waldron is doing a podcast where he's talking about Bond as it relates to history. I'm very much looking forward to checking this one out. Quantum of History. And by the way, a lot of these, another Bond podcast you can get on iTunes. I'm pretty sure all of them, in fact, I know all of them are on Spotify, so you can check them out that way. And because I just found this out today, because of CV19, apparently Apple is more or less shut down. So a lot of these newer podcasts are taking a little while to get on Apple iTunes. So Spotify is probably your best bet. So check out Quantum of History on Spotify. I think that's the last one. Oh, wait a second. What is this? The Bond Experience, David Zaritsky. A podcast. Holy cow. Okay, so if you're not, if you feel like the Bond Experience is lacking in putting out content, you might want to check out the Bond Experience podcast, which I knew this was coming. I wasn't sure if it was already out, but apparently it is very much out. There are several episodes up there already. So again, as we're looking for things to sort of keep us occupied, you can definitely check that out. The Bond Experience on, check it out on Spotify, soon to be on iTunes, etc. So there you go. There's my, now I'm checking people's comments. What's going on? Quantum of History. Yeah, check that out. I'm looking forward to checking that out myself. I can't believe it kind of got under my radar. Well, Bond Experiences podcast. The Bond Experience is feeling overexposed. Guideline Entertainment. Hello, head of section. I recently became a big fan and started a series called Bond First Watch, which is me watching all the Bond movies and other content. Guideline Entertainment. $10. Did I just make $10? I think I did. I didn't even know I had the ability to do that. Guideline Entertainment. Thank you. Recently became a big Bond fan and started a series called Bond First Watch. Me watching all the Bond movies. That's cool. That is really cool. Thank you, Guideline Entertainment, and thank you for the hitting the tip jar. I literally didn't even know I could do that. Alexa, stop. Alexa gives me reminders during the day. Tim Hands, bottom up, bottoms up. Do you think Bond should be even darker after Craig? I don't know. MJ Avella, your Bond widow checking in. Love the beard. Thank you, my love. My woman who is normally technologically challenged found her way onto my live stream. Thank you, my love. Love the beard. Yeah, I'm working on it. See, I did sort of. I mean, there's not much there, but I decided to neaten it up a little bit. Joe, I just paid for 1 roll of TP. Oh, Commando Bond. I feel you. I literally just had a. I honestly had a victory just a few days ago. I went to the store and finally saw toilet paper and paper towels. For weeks, I've been going to my grocery store looking for paper towels and toilet paper, and they've been out. I literally have not seen one on the shelf in weeks. So I finally just... Alex Bale. Marta, my partner, thinks James Bond is boring. Shall I leave her? Oh, that's... I don't know about that one, dude. Thank you for the tip. Seriously, I didn't even know this tip jar thing was a thing. I guess once you hit a certain amount of subscribers, you can do that. So thank you very much. And no, I wouldn't leave her. I would just try to... I would just try to school her on the finer things of James Bond. I mean, you know, I think all the Bond widows would probably tell you that there's a lot worse things you could be into. And honestly, I think you know, David Zaritsky and some of our other friends who we've traveled with, I mean, they can tell you that it's not too shabby following James Bond's footsteps. So, all right. So should we do this video? Like I mentioned, we're doing I'm doing the ranking Sean Connery videos. You know, the Wait for No Time to Die again is kind of wearing on people's patience. So I said, well, what else can we focus on? And needless to say, you know, I want to, you know, again, just focus, like while that's on the back burner, focus on the things we love about James Bond. You know, and that's why I kind of felt like, you know, maybe we can do some more content, flesh out some more ideas. And with that, the Connery ranking was born. So I think we should just jump right in, and I will premiere this video. Let's see, Alan Hilburn to Mary. Alrighty. And I've been watching the rankings, by the way. You know, before, as I just let the placeholder sit there and people started to chat a little bit, I saw some rankings going by and I thought they were very good. Very cool. Diamonds 6, You Only Live Twice 5, Thunderbolt 4, Dr. No 3, Goldfinger 2, From Russia with Love 1. Interesting. All right, well, here we go. Here is my ranking the films of Sean Connery. I hope you enjoy it. By the way, I kind of did this as a little interim video. Next week, you can be sure the Quantum video is going to be done. And I'm thinking I might hold that off until like possibly the week after to maybe do the same thing. If people like this, if this is fun, I'll kind of premiere it during a live stream. And that way I can kind of watch the comments, you know, and we'll just have a good time. And then we just sort of work a live stream into it. All right, with that, let's jump into it. Here is my ranking the films of Sean Connery.
James Bond. I think you got the point.
Hey there, it's your good buddy Joe Darlington, head of section from Being James Bond. And Scott and I are coming back with more content. Today we're going to talk about the films of Sean Connery. It's hard to imagine today that there was a time when people couldn't imagine anyone else besides Sean Connery playing James Bond. He was James Bond. And Sean Connery did 5 James Bond films originally, then he retired from the role. He was lured back to do a 6th installment, and then many years later he would be lured once again to do an unofficial James Bond film, which we will technically throw into the mix, and we will review the 7 films of Sean Connery. So as of right now, Scott and I have not reviewed this film, so I don't have a score for it. So with a little asterisk in the column, number 7 is Never Say Never Again. I'm sure most people know the story behind this film, so I won't get into the details, but for my money, this is what you get from two men who made the film for no other reason than they had scores to settle.
Broccoli and Co. have their bonds. We have our bonds.
Kevin McClory helped Ian Fleming pen what would eventually become Thunderball, and by some legal wranglings that my small brain can't comprehend, McClory was legally able to grapple away the rights to redo Thunderball, plot, story, and all of the characters who were created by Ian Fleming.
Who played the first Bond villain?
Cubby Broccoli.
So McClory sets out to make his Thunderball remake, and he's able to convince Sean Connery to reprise his role as James Bond for no other reason than to get back at Cubby Broccoli. And of course, the end result is Never Say Never Again. Now, I think Barbara Broccoli got it right when she said,
Never Say Never Again, I think, proved the point that a Bond film cannot exist with just one element alone. Just having Sean wasn't enough.
This is a rogue production, and as such, it didn't have the rights to the existing Bond elements, which would include the gun barrel, the James Bond theme, etc., etc. So what you get is an alternate universe James Bond film with a James Bond just shy of his twilight years. The end product is bizarre. It ranges from awkward to downright cringy. The attempts to prop up Connery as a virile James Bond is just cringe-inducing. Just how many women did they have to show smacking their lips, salivating over an aging James Bond? Okay, we get it, he's handsome. This meeting with Felix Leiter is also weird.
Felix, not bad. Not bad at all. Nothing wrong with your reflexes.
Like, who does that? Okay, so his reflexes are good? He's not too old to be in the field? Who are you trying to convince? As we said, the plot is a straight remake of Thunderball, so the plot's fine. But which film actually ages better? Never Say Never Again is firmly planted in the 80s. This went head-to-head in Octopussy in the same year, and I think Octopussy ages far better. And I think Thunderball ages far better. This one's got weird 80s fashions, the music is right out of the 80s. Even the gadgets, look at these gadgets. They're big, clunky, awkward. They don't have that sleek and sexy design that a classic James Bond gadget would. The cast is pretty much fine. Kim Basinger looks good. I mean, you know, she's fine. I think Klaus Maria Brandauer is interesting. But frankly, he's making Connery look older. And I know Barbara Carrera is chewing the scenery as Fatima Blush, but it's a little over the top for me. I think the sets are also decent. I think they did go out of their way to sort of pump up the locations a little bit. But yeah, the supporting cast, I mean, they're just way over the top. I mean, seriously, Mr. Bean as Bond's contact?
Johnny English, I'm here to see Pegasus. Still, no sense rushing things.
I mean, the film just can't settle on a tone. And if you thought the underwater finale in Thunderball was boring, just wait till you get to the finale here. So yeah, I mean, I can't say much else about this film. It's got competent moments, but if this was your introduction to James Bond, I'm pretty sure you would not seek out another one. So this will be no surprise to anyone. When we reviewed this, I gave this a score of 1. My least favorite Sean Connery film and my least favorite James Bond film, Diamonds Are Forever. For me personally, what adds insult to injury with Diamonds Are Forever is that it came right after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. And this hot mess is meant to be an apology for On Her Majesty's.
He's back.
Good evening.
And we're back to what great movies are all about.
Hey, what the hell is this?
One of the most epic, magnificent, perfect Bond films.
For thee the ships are drawn down to the waves. For thee the markets throng with myriad slaves.
Followed up with this cheap, schlocky mess of a movie.
Keep leaning on that tutor, Charlie, and you're gonna get a shot in the mouth.
Now, not every Bond film has to be gritty and realistic and tough, etc. I know some can be over the top and fun and silly. That is the magic of the James Bond franchise, that it's sort of all over the map, and it's a good indicator, like a time capsule, if you will, for what movies were at the time. So I get it, it was meant to be fun and just kind of satisfying, but I mean, to me, this film is just strictly a comedy. I mean, the most emotion you get from watching this is you're either laughing or you're kind of going... Oh, that was cool. But I mean, nothing about this film is really meant to be logical, serious, or just good. I think most people already know that a big chunk of the budget went just to bring in Sean Connery again. So all of these things like the bad special effects, boring locations, and a particularly lame climax, a lot of it has to do with budget restraints and time constraints. So yeah, I mean, you can forgive some of it, but if you're just judging the final product, I'm sorry, but this is nothing but a shit show. A lot of the casting is really weird. I've never understood Wynton Kidd as bad guys. I know a lot of people like these guys, but I just find them to be so weird.
Dr. Tynan sent us.
Why didn't he come himself?
He was taken sick, bitten by the bug.
A lot of the plot is confusing because some of it ended up on the cutting room floor. Poor Lana Wood got cheated out of a much bigger part, and because of some weird edits, her ending up at the bottom of the pool makes no sense whatsoever. I can never understand what the hell is happening. Like, what is up with the moon set? Seriously, Connery for some reason finds himself on a soundstage where they're faking the moon landing. What this has to do with the rest of the story, I have no idea. And then when Connery runs past the astronaut doesn't break character. Like, what the heck is that? The action is really weird. Every time I watch the moon buggy chase, I'm cracking up. Connery gets in this slow, clunky vehicle. He's chased by automobiles, which all they have to do is just follow behind him. But for some reason, they're driving erratically. They just flip over, flop over. And of course, the effects are terrible. The parts of the car just fall right off. The special effects are really unforgivable. I really don't know why they included these scenes. This Chinese base blows up. The effect is laughably bad, and I don't know what it contributed to the story. This Russian sub blows up. Just check out Connery's entrance. I mean, listen to the music they play behind that.
My name is Bond. James Bond.
It's almost like John Barry knew this was meant to be funny. The clothes are weird. Don't get me started on the pink tie. I will say that every James Bond film has iconic moments. I do enjoy the Bambi and Thumper scene, even though it makes no sense whatsoever. I mean, James Bond has the whole CIA standing behind him, but he walks in by himself to get throttled by these two women. I mean, there is a good funny line or two.
I tend to notice little things like that, whether a girl is a blonde or a brunette.
And which do you prefer?
Oh, providing the collars and cuffs match.
But yeah, I mean, look, this is one of those films where I have to use the adage that all James Bond movies are like section pizza. When they're good, it's great, but even when it's bad, it's still good. So look, I mean, I could watch the film, I can sit in an audience and watch and eat popcorn and heckle. But I mean, as far as what I'm looking for in a James Bond film, this really has none of it.
Welcome to hell, Blofeld.
It's a film best known for its weirdness and not much else. Coming in at number 5 with a score of 5. A solid entry for sure, but definitely probably one of the weirder ones. You Only Live Twice.
Welcome to Japan, Mr. Bond.
Sort of like Diamonds Are Forever, I tend to put this one under a little extra scrutiny because it just came off the heels of what I consider to be the Fab Four. I mean, up until this point, the Bond films could do no wrong in my eyes. But as the films were getting bigger and bigger and they felt the pressure to make it more and more epic, this film goes full-blown science fiction. And yes, it is science fiction. I mean, we have rockets that can take off and then land vertically, things we still don't have today. I mean, there are whole scenes that take place in space. In Dr. No, the villain's plot was to alter the course of rockets, but we saw it from the confines of Dr. No's lair. This film full-blown takes us into space. It's essentially Connery's Moonraker. Now, it's got its high points. John Barry is certainly on top of his game here. The film is pretty fun, and I would agree that it's also pretty self-aware. The film knows what it is. And I was lucky enough to catch this on the big screen in a re-release. And I gotta tell you, the ninja assault on the volcano lair on a really big screen, that's when you can really appreciate this movie for what it is. But with that said, I mean, it's a little awkward. I mean, Connery is the epitome of cool, and how silly does he look flying what looks like a toy airplane? I know that's a little sacrilegious, but I don't know, I always found this scene to be really weird. And even before Diamonds Are Forever, it had really awkward special effects. And I always felt it was really strange to kill off Aki in the middle of the film just to bring in Miyahama right before the finale. I mean, Miyahama is essentially the Bond girl of this film, but she barely speaks, you never hear her name.
Think again, please.
I mean, her name is lifted right from the book, she's Kissy Suzuki, but it's never mentioned. And I thought Aki was a much more interesting character, although I've never understood Bond's elation when they meet up again.
Aki.
I think the first time I saw this, I thought maybe this was someone who appeared in an earlier film. And of course, that kind of brings me around to... I mean, good lord, and this is such a chunk of the movie. And what's frustrating is that this part is right out of the book. I mean, when you read the novel, there's a big chunk where Bond adapts Japanese culture to blend in, to go undercover, but in this film, it just feels so out of place. And of course, you've got...
I am Ernst Stavro Blofeld.
Yeah, now look, I know this was always going to be really tough to pull off. The buildup of Blofeld up until now was palpable. So you really need an actor who is going to pull off the presence that Blofeld needed. And I know Donald Pleasence is a fine actor, but giving him a big old ugly scar is not going to make him intimidating. But again, this is a film that has really iconic moments, Bond moments that you remember. And I think Scott would call this like a big old fun popcorn movie. And I would agree with that. So I think my score of 5 is pretty fitting. Now we're getting into the Fab Four of Connery films. My 4th place entry, which some will probably find a little blasphemous, but I scored this one an 8, Goldfinger. I know having this so low on the list is probably pretty sacrilegious to many people. I mean, Goldfinger is the one that started the Bond phenomenon. We probably wouldn't have James Bond today if it wasn't for Goldfinger. So it's sort of a film that I feel like I should rate higher just out of a sense of gratitude. That probably also goes for the theme song by Shirley Bassey. I mean, it's solid to say the least. And at this point, it's kind of cliche to talk about how iconic the film is and how many iconic moments it has. The DB5, the Golden Girl, Goldfinger's famous line.
Do you expect me to talk?
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
So yeah, it's a solid entry. I gave it an 8, but it's not really that high on my list because it's kind of lacking a lot of the things that I want in a James Bond movie. I mean, for me, the settings are really lackluster. Even a great setting like the Miami Hotel is really kind of undermined because everything is done in back projection. Bond's scenes looks like it's shot on a set. I mean, this could have been spectacular and it's just a little clumsy. A lot of times I'll get into discussions about the great American Bond locations. I always forget Kentucky because it's so bland and forgettable. Like, who cares? I mean, seriously, the film thought it was really cool that there was a place called Kentucky Fried Chicken. And we spend so much time hanging around here. And that's another thing. Bond is really inactive for a lot of it. He's a passive player. It feels like halfway through the film, Bond gets captured, and he more or less stays captured right up until the very end. Then, of course, you get the weird plot hole where Goldfinger tells his plot to all the gangsters only to kill them a few minutes later. I mean, it's an interesting moment when you're watching this for the first time and you're not really picking up on the plot hole. Okay, it works, but I think they just could have written it better. I mean, even A View to a Kill gets this right. The cast is really good, although I always thought that Goldfinger was a really overrated villain. I mean, he's a chubby, schlubby guy, not exactly on par with James Bond, if you pardon the pun. And I have to say that I like that they improved upon the plot from the book. I mean, they flat out addressed the problems with the plot in the book and then improve upon it. And of course, what can you say about Honor Blackman as Pussy Galore? Smart, able, stunning to look at, truly one of the best Bond women of all time. I also love Shirley Eaton and Tanya Mallet in their respectable roles, really capturing the different personalities of both sisters. So yeah, it's really enjoyable. I like this film, I just don't love it. And again, I know it should be higher on my list because it's a classic, but there's just some other Connerys I like a lot better. My number 3 is going to feel like a weird pick, but it's kind of a favorite of mine and has a lot of qualities that I really sort of connect with the early days of Fleming James Bond. With a score of 8, my 3rd favorite, Dr. No.
My name is Bond, James Bond. My instructions were implicit. I was to leave for Jamaica in 2 hours. License to kill.
I know people are going to think I'm nuts that I actually put Dr. No above Goldfinger, but for some reason I've always found this film to be really watchable. I think for one thing, I love the time that it's set. Meaning a lot of us have talked about how it would be great to go back and do the original Bond novels as period films. Well, Dr. No is already a period film. It is taking place in the time of Fleming. So I just really love that vintage feel. I mean, you have people who still dress for the occasion. The casino scene is classic. People are still smoking cigarettes. I mean, you just have Sean Connery's James Bond at his coolest. Everybody's cool in this movie, even Felix Leiter. It's still by far the coolest Leiter we've ever gotten, before Jeffrey Wright came along anyway. I love the location. I feel like anytime you have James Bond in the tropics, especially Jamaica, you know you're doing something right. And I love that James Bond is a detective. You see him using spycraft. That's something I think that got lost over the years, for a while anyway. And I think what impresses me most about this film is just how much they got right, just right out of the gate. I mean, this is the first movie, and there are definitely other tropes or part of the Bond formula that you wouldn't see for a couple years, but just look at how much they got right.
Bond. James Bond.
The gun barrel, the casting of Sean Connery as James Bond, the supporting cast, Moneypenny, M, again, the great Felix Leiter, the rest of the cast is great, Quarrel is awesome, Joseph Wiseman is Dr. No. I mean, this guy would be the prototype for James Bond villains going forward. And maybe I just love the simplicity of it. It's Bond being sent on a mission to do some investigative work, with some good espionage along the way, until he gets his Bond girl and confronts the enemy. It just works. The top 2 Sean Connery films, also with a score of 8, which is kind of why these rankings are kind of fun, because I've got 3 films that actually scored 8, but now I can kind of get into even more specific rankings with this. So this is the top of my 3 8s. This one is From Russia with Love. I gotta tell you, I've kind of rediscovered From Russia with Love in the last few years. For a long time, I would have put Dr. No on top of From Russia with Love on my list, and I couldn't really explain why, because for some reason From Russia with Love wasn't really grabbing me. I knew it was a lot of people's favorites, but for some reason I just couldn't really get my head around it. But I rewatched it not long ago, and suddenly I totally understood it. I think what I love about it is that it's badass Bond. I mean, this is classic James Bond at his best. He's at his toughest, he's cold, ruthless, but he's still looking like he's having a good time. A little more than in Dr. No. The dialogue is smart. I love the locations. Istanbul has become a classic Bond location, and I love that you get a look at a different culture. The gypsy fight is awesome, not just because it's salacious and titillating, but I like that this is Bond observing an exotic culture. Now, I don't know how realistic it is, but it is exotic in a cinematic way. And of course, it erupts into a big explosive gunfight. I mean, this is great stuff. And again, you're talking about a classic setting. This is the time of Fleming. I mean, James Bond and Tatiana have to escape by train. Like, would you ever see that today? You get the introduction of Karen Bay, who is one of the greatest James Bond characters ever, I think. He's another one that soon became a prototype James Bond character. We would see variations on this relationship in several films going forward. And I also like the relationship between Bond and Tatiana. I mean, this is classic espionage. This is what was the stuff of spy stories. 2 people that are playing against each other, both with their own motives, both trying to get something. Bond can't tell where real feelings end and the espionage begins. Bond doesn't know who to trust. You got the incredible Red Grant. Again, I think one of the best Bond villains ever. This guy is scary. When this scene happens, you feel like if Bond doesn't get up off that floor, he's done for. And it's not going to be pretty. There's great build-up to Red Grant. You can see what he's capable of. You see what a physical specimen he is. And that fight on the train is classic. I think if the film has any flaws, it would be the pacing. I think that Bond defeating Grant feels like the climax of the film, and it just happens a little prematurely. But I also do like the boat chase. Or the boat confrontation. And it's a great story, too. I mean, it's one of the few cases where they stayed very faithful to the original novel. This is James Bond at his best and at his coolest. You could say you're a fan of From Russia with Love and you can hold your head high. This film deserves respect. And my favorite, Sean Connery, James Bond film of all time, and there's a lot of great ones to choose from, that's for sure. But this one for me just has everything I want in a James Bond film. I scored it a 9 at the time, and it is my top favorite Sean Connery James Bond film, Thunderball. Again, I know some people will think I'm a little nutty to have this on the top of my list. I know a lot of people don't really care for it, and a lot of people think it's a little boring. But for me, this one just has everything. It's all the ingredients of a great Bond film. I think one of the first things that grabbed me about this film was its location. I think I fell in love with the Bahamas literally from the first time I saw this film. It was instantly on my bucket list, and I'm really happy to say that I've since been there several times. Terrence Young is back in the director's chair, and I think you can feel his presence. Remember I talked about the scene at the Miami hotel that looked kind of clunky? You'll never see that in Thunderball. They take such great advantage of the wonderful locations. Every frame of this film, I'm thinking I want to go there. I mean, first off, the plot is spectacular. I mean, what can you say about this plot? It is a classic Bond plot. And frankly, it works. This is the film that really upped the stakes. I mean, this is the first plot where James Bond saves the world, but yet the scale of the film stays pretty grounded. The film itself doesn't have to go to over-the-top heights to convey the idea that this is serious business. You're also getting that classic trope where Bond is going head-to-head with the bad guy. The one-upsmanship is clearly on display, and I find that I buy it here much more than I did in Goldfinger. I think Adolfo Celli's Emilio Largo is a great character. Not perfect. Some would say that he's just Goldfinger with an exotic accent and an eye patch, but I think that would be undervaluing an exotic accent and an eye patch. I think they took the classic archetype and brought him up to what to me seems more like a James Bond style villain. I love the casino scene, and I love Bond at Palmyra. And, by the way, the relationship between Bond and Domino is classic espionage. Once again, James Bond is called upon to charm and seduce a woman to get her to help him to solve the crime. And boy do I love when Bond and Domino meet underwater. Now that's an improvement over the novel. In the novel, Bond just approaches Domino on the streets of Nassau and they have a drink. The fact that they actually meet underwater, the fact that we're, as the viewer, arriving in the Bahamas already underwater, and the two of them meeting for the first time underwater, to me is absolutely amazing. I think it's a really underrated moment. And I also like the climax of the film. And I know a lot of people don't because they say it's a little slow, but I thought it was great. Again, I find something really exotic about action taking place underwater. If the film has one clunky element, it's probably this guy.
Look, the bomb cannot be exploded now. I threw the arming device into the sea, do you understand?
So basically, he saved the day off screen while Bond was off doing something else.
Who's he?
I don't know, but he helped me.
In the big scheme of things, maybe he should have run off with Domino at the end. But again, classic location, classic style, an elegant film, a smart film. I know this is my personal, humble opinion, but Thunderball is everything I could want in a James Bond film. There you go. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Hey, Patreon. Just wanted to say thank you to my Patreon supporters. Very cool, these guys. Chris Robinson, Chris Wright, Corey, Darren, Donnie, all really, really super, super good guys. And, I just want to say thank you for the support on Patreon. If you're not already supporting, hey, hint, hint, wink, wink. But seriously, thank you. I think this is super cool that you guys do that. So there you go. I wanted to go down the list, but I'm afraid my graphic is going to run out. But seriously, these guys kind of go above and beyond to help out. So thank you for that. And why don't we do a little Q&A or just talk? Now I can relax a little bit. Lee Hurst, thank you, brother. Admirable ranking. So what do you guys think? How was the ranking? Did you crazy, not crazy? I was talking to someone today and they were saying that there's a difference between your favorite films and the best films. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. There are good films, and then there are films that we just gravitate towards that we really like. And with that in mind, I think my ranking is probably, I think it's probably a combination of both. Really, I think it is. I think I take both into account, and I think there are some films that are very good, but they just don't grab me personally. So, Rank the Lazenby films. You know, I did, Chris Brown, you know, I did think Terrence would have been a better director for Goldfinger. I kind of agree with that. I think Terrence Young is sort of, I know Calvin isn't crazy about Terrence Young, and he probably knows directors better than I do. But I think, Bond Experience, thank you. Yeah, I think Terrence Young kind of, he knew what he wanted, and he knew what, you know, I said somewhere in here about the green screen and back projection and Goldfinger, and I said, you know, Thunderball would never have that. And after I did it, I was like, well, the part when he's putting on the helmet, but I think that's kind of an example of, like, that's like a last minute scramble. I think in the film they shot everything there, and it was like literally like the last minute in the studio. They were like, oh well, he has to wear the helmet, so we got to do a shot of Connery with the helmet, putting it on. So that was like, you know, other than that though, you really don't see that in Terrence Young movies, except for the boat, the ending, and that's a little awkward. I agree with that, but I think you know, I think Terrence Young tries very hard not to do that. But Bill Koenig, what's going on, buddy? With Thunderball, you had to be there. Okay. So yeah, I know that. Joe Silag, what's going on? Great video. Sounds like my mic level is way down. I keep this microphone. I got to keep sort of talking right into it. Otherwise, if I just a little bit here or there, it kind of goes away a little bit. So I got to stick close. So anyway, somebody mentioned Lazenby. I did. Yes, I kind of feel like as I'm doing these videos, Scott and I are both going to do these. By the way, I've got Scott working on his. And we're both going to kind of do our respective rankings to kind of coincide with our, you know, the review videos. So with that in mind, yeah, we're obviously going to do Connery, Moore, Brosnan, Craig. I think Lazenby, I will probably just squeeze in a little mention before I get into Roger Moore, and I will probably do something similar for Brosnan. When we get into, I will talk a little bit about Timothy Dalton when we do the Brosnans, because I mean Brosnan's only got 4, the other guy's got 7, so I think that kind of fits. When we get to Craig, I'll probably just talk a little bit more. God knows I can talk. Do you think No Time to Die will have something to do with Vesper? I sure do. I feel like every post Casino Royale movie has had something. Diamonds is the Batman 66 of the Bond films. I like that. Who's your favorite Thunderbolt girl? It's interesting. I guess I'll just go with the main one. I mean, she's pretty good. My only favorite girl is home working right now. My favorite Bond is the one where Connery chases birds with his umbrella. I got that, Finn. Dean Dunleavy, what's going on? Connery's best films is definitely The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Which Connery had the best cinematography? I think that's probably Thunderball. I think cinematography is a really underrated part of the Bond films, frankly. I mean, you want to be transported to another world, you know? And I feel like the one of the great things about the Craig movies has been the cinematography, except for Spectre. Does Scott have a channel? No, he does not. He seems knowledgeable. Right, you would think he would, but no, he's you know, Scott's he doesn't he's not one to mug for the camera. You know, it takes his kind of personality to want to just sit here and say, "Hey, look at me all day." Scott's kind of not really it took a little coercing to get him. I mean, he was pretty quick to do the podcasts. I shouldn't say that. I mean, he was, when I asked him to do the videos, he was all for it. So, but I don't think he would think to kind of go off and do his own thing. So I'm kind of lucky to kind of have him in that respect. Let's see. How'd you feel about the Connery from Russia with Love video game? I thought that was pretty cool. I liked it a lot, actually. It was very clever. I mean, it was fun because even though it was from Russia with Love, it kind of just sort of felt like all the Connerys. So they took the more cinematic parts. You got the jetpack from Thunderball. You had the car chase with the DB5, which you didn't see until Goldfinger. So I like that a lot. Alexa, stop. Jeez, I said Alexa, stop. I shut off all my reminders. Why am I still getting them? Dean, what's going on? Thank you, buddy. Greetings from Burlington County. Great. Thank you, brother. So you're a neighbor too, a little south, but still Jersey, huh? I mean, I am thinking of the right Burlington County, right? Just discovered your channel maybe a week ago. Thank you, brother. I'll keep it going. Very cool, Dean. Thank you so much. Like I said, I really had no idea that you could that I had a kind of an automatic tip jar. Very cool. I'm going to see Dr. No One from Russia with Love for the first time tomorrow on BBC America. Very cool. Enjoy. Tom Jones, have you heard the script for No Time to Die? May have been leaked a few days ago. I did hear that. Yes, I did. Yes, I heard that very possibly. I don't know if it was a whole script or just a synopsis, but yeah, leaks are going to be a problem. What am I going to say? I mean, it's I kind of called that one like literally seconds after I heard the news that they postponed it 8 months. I said that's going to be an issue. Have you read Carte Blanche by Jeffrey Deaver? I have. I think I have it someplace else. I have so much stuff now, it doesn't even fit on this bookshelf. I have like now boxes of stuff. I have to get a bigger office with bigger bookshelves. I did read that one, and I liked it a lot, actually. It was a very interesting take. Honor Majesties with Sean Connery. I don't really, I don't know. I've never bought that theory because I thought Connery was kind of exhausted at that point. If they did it a little earlier, could have been pretty good. In fact, if they did the books in order and Honor Majesties followed Thunderball, you might have had something. Then I think coercing Connery to come back instead of doing Diamonds, he was doing You Only Live Twice. That could have been pretty interesting. Am I going to London in November? Tony, as of right now, as long as there is a premiere in November, I will be going to it. Yes, Mary and I will absolutely be there. So right now, script leaked, and the next film script. Yeah, seriously, at this rate, Bond 26 will get leaked before Bond 25. Honor Majesties with Roger Moore. Interesting. Hey. The only other actor that could have possibly pulled off Honor Majesties is Brosnan, maybe Craig. That's interesting. Honor Majesties. I'll tell you what. Bond Legends, that video game. Yeah, that. If you want to see Craig propose to Tracy, that. Yeah. Very interesting. Very interesting. DC for New Year's. Interesting. DC for New Year's. I tell you what. Could very possibly happen because we have not done it in a while. We've gone several times, and it's a lot of fun. By the way, I apologize for my lighting. I guess it's this camera. I'm not really sure what that's about. I might switch up next time. But yeah, DC for New Year's, very possibly. Again, we're kind of overdue. And they're a lot of fun. Dalton in GoldenEye, Steven. I don't know. Hard to say. Dalton in GoldenEye. Well, put it this way. I think Dalton along with... I saw somebody talking about this earlier. Dalton really got cheated out of a third film. He really should have done a third, and I think that would have been possibly his sweet spot because that's kind of traditionally... the thirds are oftentimes when they hit their stride. And I kind of felt like, honestly, up until that point, they were kind of, a lot of the sophomore Bond films are kind of The Man with the Golden Gun. I mean, Bond comes out pretty strong. Moore comes out pretty strong in Live and Let Die. Golden Gun was just sort of kind of similar to Casino Royale and then Quantum of Solace. Casino's fantastic. Quantum's and then I feel very similarly about, I think The Living Daylights was spectacular and License to Kill was just And I kind of feel like if he came back and did a third and everything was kind of normal, I think it really could have been good. I think it could have been great. And honestly, seriously, I mean, for me, Casino Royale and Quantum is very similar to The Living Daylights and License to Kill. The second one, they kind of learn the wrong lessons. Oh, tougher and grittier. Let's go even tougher, even grittier, even what. And then they kind of like check themselves by the third one. So I think, yeah, Dalton's third could have been really good. Mary Jane Avella, miss you too. Joe, not so much. Bond experience, you no good rotten. All you guys stop flirting with my girlfriend. No. Cary Grant, he would have been interesting. Dalton and Octopus, I could see that. I could see that. That one Bond guy, what's up, buddy? Favorite Bond actor? I'm kind of getting to where picking your favorite actor is like picking your favorite child. It's kind of hard to do. If you asked me a couple years ago, I would have said Daniel Craig for sure. But now that he's done a couple, and now that Spectre kind of muddies the water a little bit, I kind of feel like it's just okay. Now I'm sort of, and I kind of feel like if you asked me my least favorite a couple years ago, I probably would have said Roger Moore. But honestly, now I feel like I can't say that either. Roger got us through a period where people were not interested in serious movies. He's got great charm and charisma, and frankly, when they did want to get back to tough and realistic for Your Eyes Only, they didn't have to switch actors. He could do it. So yeah, it's kind of getting to where all the actors for me, it's hard to pick one. It's hard to put one above another. Yeah, why did they get rid of the bird poo from the Dr. No novel in the movie? Yeah, I don't know. Some good ones. For me, number one, Connery. Close second, Dalton. Love that. Never mentioned Spectre. Yeah, it still hurts, doesn't it? Still hurts. What's your favorite Bond novel? I would say On Her Majesty's is my favorite novel. Casino Royale, probably second place. Live and Let Die, maybe third. I think that's pretty good. I think, maybe next time we do Operation Stay at Home, maybe I'll have to pick 5 more and discuss them. Do you still play the Billie Eilish song, or does it hurt now? You know what? When it comes to release dates, you know what I say to that? Fool me once, fool me twice. That's all I'm going to say about that. Not going to fool me again. Do you think Lazenby was a bad Bond actor? No, I don't think so. I think he was very good, actually. He's another one. I think that I think if Lazenby did more, he could have been great. I think he's great in On Her Majesty's. And, again, I kind of, we were talking about Connery doing On Her Majesty's. Nah, I don't see that happening, really. I think Connery would have been exhausted, kind of cranky, and the idea that he would suddenly be falling in love, I would have a hard time with that. And in fact, you heard me say, like, in You Only Live Twice, when Aki shows up, he goes, Aki! And it's like, wow, Connery showed some emotion there. What's this all about? Like, it really kind of took me by surprise. So yeah, I kind of don't see it. Let's see. Tom Hardy as James Bond. Tom Hardy's a great actor and probably could pull it off, but I do kind of like the idea of going back to at least more unknowns. They don't have to be complete unknowns, but kind of more unknown I like. One of my favorite things about the Craigs is that, Craig for me was basically an unknown. All the Bond women, the supporting cast, they were mostly unknowns. I like that a lot about those films because it's all about discovery. Seeing an actress that you're very familiar with, Halle Berry, Denise Richards, Terry Hatcher, it kind of doesn't do anything for me. It doesn't really, that doesn't do much for me. When things are new and you're discovering it for the first time, that's when it gets pretty good. I like that better, and that goes for actors and actresses as well. It kind of makes the whole thing feel like more realistic. You know, like these are people you're meeting for the first time. It's not just, oh, look at Halle Berry trying to act such and such. You know, so I like it better when there's unknowns. Tom Hardy would be good as a Bond villain. I could see that. The most awkward part of Diamonds may be Moneypenny's diamond ring comment to Bond. Yeah, it is, isn't it? Right, especially knowing that his wife was recently murdered. Yeah. Easy, Moneypenny. Let the body get cold first. Yeah, you know, again, that movie's so sloppily written. You know, by the way, when I was watching the comments go by as the video was playing, and I saw people saying like, "When kid, what are you talking about? That's the best part of the movie." And somebody said, "Mr. Bean is the best part of that movie." Yeah, you know, I could see that. The funny part sometimes is like, you know, Kyle, yo mama. Yeah, I know that. Seriously. Who would you like to have directed Bond 25? Or Bond 26, sorry. To direct, I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm not as up on my directors as I once was. Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, probably Cary Fukunaga would have been my choice if you asked me a little while ago. If I had seen True Detective first and somebody brought him up, Commander Bond, hey, oh, come on, dude, you don't have to do that. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Would you ever attempt a Bond marathon if you haven't already? Like a real Bond marathon? I know years ago, like a couple of the West Coast Bond fans, they filmed themselves doing like a 24-hour Bond marathon. I don't know if I would be able to do that. I think I almost say to myself, like, would I hate James Bond by the time that was done? That would be hard. William Shatner for director. Yeah, I like that. Star Trek 5 and Bond 26. That's like Felix in License to Kill when Pam walks out of the office and he says to Bond, "Strictly business, my friend." You're doing a great job, Joe. Thank you, James Bond Netherlands. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Do you think Bond needs an extra series to become successful as Marvel? An extra series, like a series about the life of Blofeld and Bond as brothers. Yeah. It's like the oh, just yeah. Don't even get me started. Don't get me started. Are the films better than the novels? In a lot of cases, yes. I mean, it's kind of an apples to oranges comparison. Brian Miller from South Carolina. What's going on, buddy? Yeah, the books and the novels. I mean, the books and the movies, very apples to orange comparison, but there are a lot of times, put it this way, years ago, I would have said, just stick to the novels, man. They're priceless. Every word is a gem, and just do it exactly as they are. But there's too many examples where the film really did improve upon things from the books. So the books are amazing, and honestly, if you have not read them yet, I highly recommend reading them. It will definitely broaden your appreciation of the character. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of times when there's a lot of times when the films improve upon what was on the page. I like that a lot. Bill Koenig, no. Just no? Are you talking about the films and the movies? Or the films and the books? Good work, Joe. Thank you. Andy Edge, thank you, sir. Daniel House, Blofeld and Bond boarding school like Hogwarts. Yeah, I get totally. Christopher Nolan to direct a Bond film. Tim Hands. I mean, put it this way: if Christopher Nolan came out and said he was, I would have no problem with that at all, none whatsoever. I think he would do a great job. Would I, if I was in charge, would I seek him out to do it? I don't know. Because again, you got to figure that'd be an expensive movie. he would have a big paycheck. Hard to say. Hard to say. Do you think they'll re-release? Do you think they'll re-release No Time to Die theme around October? Re-release the theme? When it's already out. What are you gonna do? You can't unrelease it. So, but hopefully you'll hear it played more, and they'll try to. Still, the best films are those that stick more closely with the books. I totally agree, Alan Hilburn. 100%. That is absolutely true. Goldfinger and Honor Majesties both have little tweaks that improve upon the book. I agree. Yep. But again, that's like a hindsight sort of thing. Like the novels start out with things that interested Fleming, food, gambling, but they don't lend themselves to film narratives. Yeah, I would agree with that, Bill Coney. Yeah, I mean, the books is the essence of the character. But put it this way: you ever read a novelization of a movie? Sometimes. And apparently Star Wars is huge on this, even though I don't read it. But I hear this. All the crap in the last couple of Star Wars is, if you read the books and they, that expand on, they do a lot of, how's the gin? I can't complain. Hendrix is always good. The novels flesh out all of the big kind of errors, continuity, plot holes that happen in the film. Because they have that hindsight. They can take what was done and then improve upon it. Well, the films do that as well. They take, the creation and then they kind of build on it. But again, that's not fair. Like to say that, like if I do a masterful work of art and then someone comes along and just sort of does a little retouching here and there, well, they didn't do a better thing than I did. So yeah, it's a difficult comparison. But again, I think so. Maybe a better way to say it is that they're both really good for what they're meant to do. Can you mix one for me as well? The gin is really good. Nolan wouldn't get with the producers. Yeah, I think that'll be a tough call. Could a James Bond theme park work? I don't think so. I don't see how you would do it. You could probably have some fun rides, some fun attractions. I mean, I've heard of bars that kind of they do this kind of funny spy themed speakeasy sort of thing. We have to do code words, passwords to get in, or solve some things. I don't know if you could do a whole theme park around that. I don't even think you could do a small attractions. Apologies, my no comment was a response to a comment made earlier. Oh, I missed it. Hi Joe, how would Diamonds Are Forever been different if Lazenby stayed? Robert Judge, you are very welcome, sir. How would it be different if Lazenby stayed? Well, put it this way. I think it would have kept the same tone as Honor Majesties. I mean, Diamonds is very openly. Again, I think people. I wish I had a good analogy. But I guess the filmmakers thought that Bond Experience, thank you. Here's $2. Now dance for me. Stand up and dance, joke boy. Thank you, Bond Experience, for your $1.99. Do I win the $1.99 beauty pageant? If anybody remembers that, Bill Coney will remember that. Bill, do you remember the $1.99 beauty pageant? I think From Russia with Love, the film, does a good job of capturing the special itinerary that world that Fleming created. I agree. Yes, I agree. Yes, totally. Yeah. I mean, the bottom line, you couldn't even have the films without the novels. You couldn't have the films without what Fleming created. Bond would not be in any way, shape, or form, what he is without Fleming and without those books detailing this character. Joe Silac, Secret Cinema is as close to a theme park experience as you can get. Yes, I would agree with that. And boy, was that a great experience too. Boy, I really hope when all this settles down that Secret Cinema comes to the United States. Because that was awesome. Diamonds Are Forever is a great title, in my opinion. I agree with that, Steven. I'm kind of reading these all sort of out of order. Sorry, I'm sort of scrolling up and down. Bill Coney, yes, I do. The $1.99 beauty pageant. The stuff that we used to watch on TV back in those days. Yeah, it's interesting how From Russia with Love, it has a great connection to World War II. I mean, again, you're talking about a... See, what's fascinating is the fact that they're even trying to keep this character going that literally was sort of stemmed from World War II. Like, anybody who you know who fought in World War II, you know, what do they look like now? And we're doing James Bond movies as if no time has passed. So it's kind of an interesting conundrum. I'd love to do Secret Cinema again. Time of my life. Yeah, Secret Cinema was phenomenal. Secret Cinema was great. Secret Cinema, Casino Royale, boy, did they do a good job. I mean, that honestly, Richie Walker, thank you, brother. Dinner time. Yeah, I'll keep going for a little while, but my dinner's going to be waiting. Yeah, Secret Cinema, Casino Royale, boy, that was just spectacular. I just Googled the $1.99 beauty pageant. Love that concept for a show. It was funny. Yeah, the Secret Cinema Casino Royale, they could not have gotten that better. I mean, they did incredible work on that. That was so good. I mean, and this is from a guy who was a hardcore, not only a hardcore James Bond fan, but a hardcore Casino Royale fan. And I honestly felt like I couldn't have done better myself. I could not have done a better job. Like, you would think, like, sipping tequila, very good. I mean, you would think that any kind of hardcore Bond fan would walk into any sort of public Bond event and say, here's how I would have done it differently. Not at all. I mean, they nailed it. The characters were great. I mean, how they got actors and actresses who looked the part the way they did, just kind of mind-boggling, frankly. Is Casino Royale your number one of all time? Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I Casino Royale has kind of tipped the scales, and I finally kind of made peace with the idea that it's my favorite. I feel like a 60s film should be my favorite, but... Joe, do you like the thing that Bond becomes a kind of drama? Remember the Vesper Madeline thing? I mean, it's no secret that No Time to Die will be about the two characters and about losing them. Yeah, have the films gotten very drama heavy? Yeah. I mean, and again, I don't mind actual drama, because you need, I mean, a film has to stick with rules of cinema. You have to have great characters. Greg, thank you, brother. Sorry I couldn't give more. It's a tight month. That dude, I hear you, brother. Thank you. Greg 888 or 8989. Thank you, brother. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's a tight month for everybody, man. So don't feel pressured. Thank you. Means a lot. Yeah, so a film has to really retain certain rules, and you have to have good characters, you have to have a good story, you got to have a good plot, because if you don't, then it's like, well, it's kind of like these movies now where the action is just so fast paced that you kind of can't get absorbed into it anymore. Like the Star Wars prequels, when it just everything was just all over the place, crazy, and you kind of get numb to it. You have to have, as opposed to like Casino Royale, where a simple thing like these two guys fighting on these scaffoldings, the way it's shot, it looks real. It looks like they're just out there. So you really need a sense of, every movie needs some drama. Just can't be William Leisher, $5. How's it going? How are you? I swear I don't know how you guys are even doing that. Thank you, William Leisher. How's it going? How are you sticking this little guy in there? I haven't a clue. That is great. Thank you, William. You're already doing plenty, brother, but thank you. So anyway, yeah. So I don't want the films to get overly dramatic. They've definitely dipped into over the whole Blofeld brothers routine. Like, and that's not even good drama. That's like, if it was even good drama, I'd be like, okay, fine. But that's not even like interesting. Clean slate for Bond 26, new Bond, and you know what? That's a tough question. Do you think Brosnan should have had a fifth? He was doing fine. He was absolutely doing fine. They made the same mistake that a lot of them do, where they cast young people around him, make them look old. Bond experience. I will show you how some people are doing it. I took some video of it. All right, cool. Thank you. I am curious. Clean slate for Bond 26. That's kind of a that falls into the category of what I would like to see versus what they should do. It's kind of frustrating that it took us this long to get Q Moneypenny back into the world of James Bond. It's frustrating that it's taken us how many years now to get 3 films out of these characters. So it's we're gonna have to reboot it already. I mean, Moneypenny will have been in 3 films, and now we're gonna have to reboot it. I mean, they did. How many was Moneypenny in before they actually rebooted her character? There was a new Moneypenny in The Living Daylights, so she did I guess she did 14. She did 14 films, right? Lois Maxwell did 14 films. Alan Hilburn, thank you, sir. Very cool. Lois Maxwell did 14 films. Naomi Harris did 3, and now we got to reboot the whole series again because that's it. I don't know, but then again, I don't know how you just put in another actor with Naomi Harris and Ben Whishaw and Ray Fiennes and just kind of keep going forward as if nothing had happened. That would be it's a tough call either way. There's no perfect answer to that. Where did I see your thoughts on McClory, Tim Hands? I wish I knew. I've got the book right next to me, The Battle for Bond, and I haven't actually read it yet. I know most of that story with McClory. I can't get my head around how a guy who, think of how many writers have been brought in. Obviously, legally, a corporation like Eon or MGM, they know better than to ever have someone have any kind of a claim to what they've written. But just imagine how many writers have sort of come through to help out with Bond scripts. Not one of them ever decided to sue and get the rights to the whole flippin' character franchise, whatever. McClory to me is just like a kind of a phenomenon. Like how this could possibly happen to me is like, it just baffles me. How about reviewing the writers of the... Reviewing the writers, Daniel Howes. That's interesting, but honestly, I wouldn't know how to do that. How would you do that? Because I don't know. Like when I see Bond 25, how am I going to know, did Scott Z. Burns contribute this part? Did Purvis and Wade contribute that part? Is this a... what's her name? Oh boy, I'm going to get in trouble for forgetting her name. The woman who was brought in to... But, how are you going to know who contributed what? Michael Darlington. Hey, I know that guy. Just finished the Connery rankings. Thank you, brother. My brother, who he knows more about film editing than I could ever know. He's forgotten more about film editing than you and I will ever know. Yeah, the McClory situation is fascinating, that's for sure. McClory is the worst Bond villain of all time. Yeah, like I said, it's not... Phoebe Walker Waller-Bridge. Sorry. Thank you. Brosnan got a raw deal after Die Another Day. Yeah. I kind of agree. I don't know what that was about. Honestly, you could have Bond experience. What are the odds we'll be in London in November? My friend, your guess is as good as mine there. Very much, very much as good as mine. Have you made any progress on Volume 2 while being in quarantine? Yes, Bond Armory. As a matter of fact, I have. I've been... I'll tell you what, this whole... I don't want to rub it in, for lack of a better way to say it. But honestly, personally, I've kind of adapted to this whole quarantine thing pretty well, I think. The first week or two... the days were just kind of blending together. I'd be sitting here like sometime during the day and kind of have no concept of what time it is. The Bond experience, Michael Darlington, we should speak. Michael, be careful. He'll recruit you for. Yeah, I mean, I was like, I just kind of exist. I was in pajamas all the time, and I still am, but because why burn through clothes? I mean, I kind of stopped. I said to myself, I said, why am I wearing clothes? I just have to wash them, and I'm not going anywhere. But my schedule has gotten much better. I literally have, my alarm goes off at 6. I'm sitting at my desk working for at least an hour and a half or so. I'm writing for a couple hours in the morning. I do some exercise after that, and then I sit down to do work. And I'm telling you, honestly, I kind of feel like had I not gotten myself onto a schedule, and I really do stick to it. It's funny. I would set, my Alexa would go off, every so often. I'd be like, I should remind myself to do this every day, and I tell Alexa, remind me. Better not say it too loud, or she'll start talking. Alexa will start to give me reminders, and after a while, I just whatever. But I've kind of trained myself now to literally okay, remind me to do this, and when the thing goes off, I do it. Right. So it's kind of I've adapted to it pretty well. Now, I mean, obviously, I don't I hate that people are getting sick. But my girlfriend Mary's climbing the walls. I know that she's not really. She's not really good at being kind of confined and stuff. And I totally understand that. So I can understand how people would hate this. But, again, for me personally, I've kind of made the best of it, and I'm kind of doing all right with it. So it's working. Would Ewan McGregor have made a good James Bond? Probably not. I think he makes a great Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I wish they would stop screwing that series up. Are you happy that Craig is back for a 5th, or do you think his story was over with Spectre? That's a tough one. I will put it this way. I'm glad he's back now that I've seen the trailers, because the trailers look like a pretty good movie. And honestly, I thought Spectre would have been a pretty weak send-off had that been the end. So yes, I'm glad he came back to do a 5th one. And my theory has always been that, Craig himself realized Spectre was terrible, and that's why he came back to do a 5th. Plus cha-ching. I mean, he needs to make money, and none of the films he was doing was turning into franchise material. I think the closest thing now is Knives Out, although I am very skeptical that that'll turn into something. Great movie, Knives Out. Enjoyed it a lot, but I don't see that as being a franchise where they're going to make another one every 2 years and keep it as good as it was. Well, No Time to Die have a novelization that has fallen out of fashion. Yeah, it sure has, and that's kind of a shame. Although, you ever see Woody Allen's Manhattan? There's a line in that when he says that's another totally moronic part of American culture is novelizations of movies. He's there are such great books out there, and people are reading novelizations of movies. But in fairness, I've read a couple that I really liked. What's nice about them is that it gives an author an opportunity to flesh out ideas. if you have a good author who's not just taking, I mean, I remember reading, like, I think I read the novelization for Raiders of the Lost Ark, and it was really good. And then there was another guy who they brought in to do, I think it was Temple of Doom, and I think he did Jedi as well. But you could kind of tell all the guy was doing was taking the script and just basically just translating the script. So it was like, what's sorry my girlfriend sent me a text. Sorry about that. Oh, by the way, I meant to show these. I was talking about what I had been doing recently, and again, I haven't gotten to these yet, but I wanted to talk about these books that I got sent, and I wanted to thank the people that sent them, by the way. This one, Fleming's Wars, Edward Michael Rosary, the history behind the fiction of Fleming's James Bond. I know there are a lot of people who will probably really enjoy this and respond to it. Through the devastation of World War II and amidst potential destruction at the hands of the Soviet Union, Ian Fleming's creativity gave the West a hero. I mean, again, this is, if you're interested in, historical, factual, this, you might find this interesting. So check it out. And this one, I'm kind of really, another one I'm sort of dying to get into. MI6 skills for civilians. Check this out. I'm very anxious to get into this one as well. Beat a polygraph, establish an alias, plan your escape. I mean, again, kind of like probably a little tongue-in-cheek, I'm sure. But I love how it's kind of... I've seen books that were similar. In fact, it kind of almost sort of inspired me to do Being James Bond. But I mean, like, very cool stuff. Driving tips. I mean, it's pretty wild. So it's pretty cool, and a lot of good pictures. I mean, I love the layout of this. So I'm kind of excited to get into these. Yeah, and there were, by the way, and there were Bond novelizations. The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker both got novelizations. And I loved Calvin's review of those, by the way. He says that the authors kind of picked up, Fleming's Bond. They kind of got into the books and kind of treated them as if they were just Fleming's Bond doing the story from the films. I mean, it's pretty interesting stuff. Die Another Day is my favorite movie. What do you think? I think you're pulling my leg, John Goldeneye. Do you know that if you Google your name, it says you're a 199-year-old priest? Okay. Secret Cinema Spectre. See you in Monaco. I like that idea. Very cool. How could Spectre become the second most successful Bond film? I mean, it was so bad. Was it, if you adjust for inflation? I mean, it came off the heels of Skyfall, and Skyfall was a phenomenon. So, what's your favorite post-Bond movie of Connery? That's an interesting question. I don't know if I really do I have a post? I mean, he was pretty good in The Rock. He had a couple of good funny lines in The Rock. I like The Untouchables. I mean, that was a great movie, and he was great in it. I'm trying to think of a movie where he was the main character as opposed to a supporting character, though. I remember for a while I would catch everything, probably right up to like Entrapment. I would watch whatever he was in, but nothing was really that great. I remember Medicine Man was just eh. There was a couple things he did that was just kind of eh, and then I kind of lost. Still flabbergasted by your affection for Thunderball. I rank it 22 out of 24. You know what? Listen, you saw the video. I mean, so I've already made my pitch. So that's the best I got. Favorite post-Fleming title. Movie title, Die Another Day, ironically. I think Die Another Day, oddly, is probably one of the best post-Fleming titles. Sometimes I think they try too hard to sound Fleming-ish, and they just do, like if you talk to Raymond Benson, and the titles I think were kind of out of his hands, but they would always go for these really kind of the man from, kill, die, whatever. Die Another Day I thought was the one that was the only one that was really clever, in that respect. Craig's Bonds are too depressing. What do you think? Yeah, I mean they definitely get a little too heavy. If you factor in the cost of Spectre, I don't think it will be that successful. Yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, I mean it's kind of they spent an absurd amount of money on that. It's kind of ridiculous. Are you in need of moderators to these streams when the channel gets bigger? FinFlash, I honestly don't even know what a moderator would do, to tell you the truth. Yeah, I mean, it just goes to show how kind of, out of touch I am with technology. But talk to me about it. We can talk another time. 1954 Casino Royale isn't that bad. The 1954 Casino Royale I kind of like, actually, to be honest with you. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah, right. You have to sort of just take it into account. This was literally a live TV show, and that's it. So, as far as production values go, it's next to zero compared to today. But I've always enjoyed it because I remember before 2006 feeling like that was the closest I would ever get to seeing some sort of representation of the actual book. I mean, the 67 is, it's basically Austin Powers. Favorite James Bond reference book? Boy, that's interesting. Bedside Companion for sure. I don't know if you would call Some Kind of Hero a reference book, but those World of James Bond books, those were fun. They were kind of fun with just big pictures and stuff. They're kind of meant to be like, middle school reading, I guess. But they're fun. They're a lot of fun. The pictures are nice, and they kind of flesh out. There's some of those books they would do like drawings of how these things would actually work in real life, like schematic drawings. They're a lot of fun. I like them a lot. John Goldeneye, honestly, Die Another Day is my favorite film. I grew up with Nightfire. You know what? I'd probably take Nightfire over Die Another Day. I think Die Another Day is, again, you saw the review. I'm not crazy about it. It's kind of, it's all about excess, everything's just way over the top. But, Zardoz is the funniest Connery movie. I don't know if I've ever actually seen that. I think I must have seen it when I was younger. I probably saw it like when VHS players literally first came out. I probably wanted to see anything at that point that was kind of sci-fi or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if I could. One Fleming scene I'd love to see, but they've never used, is that Dr. No torture gauntlet. Like the kind of obstacle course he has to do. That would be kind of interesting. Moderator on a live stream would isolate you from the audience and lose the spontaneous nature of a live stream, I say. Would a moderator feed me like the best questions or something to address and answer? That's it. Okay, I can see that. Interesting. Alan Helburn, who's been the moderator of my forum for many years, so he should know. Kerry Fukunaga says, No Time to Die is finished, won't be tweaked. What do you think? I kind of feel like I don't believe anything until I see it for myself. I'm kind of getting to where, I don't know what it is, but boy, it just sort of feels like, I don't know, like, I don't want to be harsh, but it's like you can almost tell. Like Daniel Craig said recently how it was airtight, locked down, airtight. There's only 2 copies of it. I had to fly somewhere just to see it. And I kind of was like, okay. It's almost like, why are you telling me that? Are you telling me that because the opposite is true? and you're trying to, you know, I don't know. So when I hear that it's totally finished, we're not going to do a thing to it. Well, let's just see. Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah. Do I need a moderator? Probably not. Moderators also keep the chat in order and boot out the unruly people. Wow, we don't have any unruly people here. Why was England never in the title of a Bond movie or novel? Don't know. What would you call it? The man from England? The agent from England? What was your favorite non-Bond? No, we talked about that. I think if I ever get to the Calvin Dyson level of live streams where like it's just flying right by a mile a minute, maybe I'll need a moderator. But I think for now my live streams are pretty I can handle this. Bond has no time to die. Starting to see lots of speculation that they are killing off Craig's Bond in the new film. What do you think? Wow. You know, sometimes I get nervous about speculating out loud because if I'm right, it means I'm spoiling something. If I'm wrong, it means I'm not saying anything worth your time. Yeah, I've heard that too, and I've had friends of mine, Scott is one of them, who speculates. The Bond experience, if you had a moderator, I would be booted off very quickly. Yes, you certainly would. Yeah, I've heard the same rumors about them killing off Bond in this, and I kind of feel like, well, first of all, if they do it, I think that's a really stupid move. And again, like Scott will tell you, you know, if Scott were here, he would say, and by the way, I will be having Scott on one of these live streams at some point soon, so stay tuned for that. You know, he'll say, look, what do the Bond films always do? They copy what's big and, you know, what's happening. Okay, and then, you know, he goes, they killed off Logan, they killed off Iron Man. He goes, this movie needs, they always need gravitas in these movies, so they kill off Bond. And when you put it that way, it's hard to argue. But I'll simply say I just really hope they don't, because Kevin Henry just bought your Being James Bond book. Looking forward to reading it. Thank you, my brother. Appreciate that. Yes, I really hope they don't kill off Bond. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Just why bother with that? Yeah, just don't. We'll see. What's the best score that saves a bad Bond film? Oh, I would go with Tomorrow Never Dies for that, actually. And not that I would call it a bad Bond film. If you ask Scott, he hates it, and I can understand why. It's flawed, but I think the score is great, and the score does a lot to bring it up. A score could really do miracles for a movie. I would love to see somebody rescore GoldenEye with all of the Arnold tracks, and I bet you that'd be pretty sweet. Sins of England as a potential Bond title. I like that. Do you think in 2022, the 60 years of Bond, that we'll have a movie to celebrate? Do you? No, I don't. I'm sure you don't either. At this point, Bond 25 will be 2022. They should just hold this one up a little more and make it a Bond 22 release. I mean, what's the difference at this point? What direction do you think the series takes after No Time to Die? If I had to take a guess, I would say they would probably... Well, first of all, it's hard to know who they are. I don't know what Eon's plans are after Bond 25. I feel like they are obviously exhausted, and I don't see people coming in to I don't see any young blood in there coming in to sort of be the new Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson. It'll be interesting to see who takes the reins after this one, and depending on that, you could see like people. I've talked to people who say after this movie, just forget about James Bond for a while because it's going to be years before we see another film. Based on the 5 years since the last one, that wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But if you change hands, if someone else takes the reins who could be a little more anxious, I mean, put it this way, if someone purchases the Bond franchise, Disney, someone else, a smaller player, they would do it with the eagerness to make movies. So you could see something pretty quickly. So, it's kind of it's weird because it's almost like depending on what happens after this, could be a long time or could be no time at all. So we'll see. Could be no time to die. The Craig films have become an alternate timeline that could be ignored when you get the new Bond. Technically true. I mean, it's weird how Bond has been around forever. We never had to monkey with the timeline. Now suddenly we do. Pushkin's wife is the hottest Bond girl. Pushkin, well, assuming that you think that's his wife, that doesn't. He seems like a guy who'd be like a player, like a guy who's powerful, so he can keep girlfriends around. So I don't know if that's his wife, but we'll see. Do you think we'll get a unique closing title song? Now that Matthew Bazzelli, sorry, I'm not close to my screen. Sorry. Do you think we'll get a unique closing title song? I hope they do. I missed that they took the opportunity. I mean, they took advantage of that, to do an ending title song, and they kind of just stopped doing that. Doing soundtracks has kind of not become their thing these days. I guess it's not really in fashion these days. Would be nice though. Do you think No Time to Die should be released on VOD, John Riggs? I'm thinking now would be a great treat for us. Yeah, I don't know. Depending on how this whole virus thing goes, maybe that's what some of these franchises, because No Time to Die was like the first one to get postponed, and the other ones followed suit eventually. And there's a lot of talk about a lot of franchises all of a sudden now just fast forwarding and going straight to on demand. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. I would be pretty disappointed if that happened. I'm really holding out for the big release, it being in theaters. I mean, if something happens and it goes straight to video, I know very well. Like if they said tomorrow, we're releasing the movie next month, direct to, okay. Well, me and Zaritsky would be on the phone in about 2 seconds planning our viewing party, assuming that we can. Like, that's the thing too. Like, what if the virus keeps going, and we're all just stuck home watching it? I mean that would literally be the worst thing ever, frankly. Like, the virus is still going strong, but they want to push this thing out, so all of a sudden it's on Netflix tomorrow, and just okay, like there's no pomp and circumstance, yeah, that would be pretty lame. Kevin Rogers, I'm almost afraid of New Blood. Production in a new Bond. Yeah, I mean, you know what it is? I mean, if anybody here is like a Star Wars fan, you probably, like, I hate the new movies. Hate them. But then again, The Mandalorian comes out, and it's phenomenal, right? And my other friend got me involved. He's like, you got to watch the Clone Wars, the animated series, because the next season of The Mandalorian is going to reference that. So just watch it. So I've been getting into that. And it's the guy, Dave Filoni, who, I mean, that to me is an example where you get a fan, who understands the franchise and put them in charge. Then you got something. Then you got, I mean, Kevin Feige, same way. Yeah, I mean, Kevin Feige is a guy who's a fan, That's why the Marvel movies are so great. So if you find a fan who can do Bond, I think it would be great. I mean, but again, you have to have both. You have to be a fan and understand how movies work. So, and that could be tough to get people who can, can say that they are both. Joe Silac, doing VOD or streaming is a massive loser for big budget movies. Yeah, big time. I don't see how that happens. But again, you're 1,000% correct. It would be a big loser. But I mean, we could be dealing with a worst case scenario. I mean, I just hope that they can put it in the theaters in November and everything goes without a problem. What are your thoughts on a trilogy of Bond films for the next actor? Now, I like that a lot. Sign the actor for a 3-picture deal, put him out 1 year after another with an elongated storyline. Love it. Love that. I think that is the I kind of don't know when you see the last 3 Star Wars films and you say to yourself, how did they not have a plan? How did they not have a plan before they went forward? Bafflingly stupid. Yeah, I would love to, even if you don't officially call it a trilogy, but you just map out 3 films in a row and say, here's how the story will progress. And even if it's just an outline, here's what needs to happen in the first one. Here's what needs to happen in the second one. And here's how we'll wrap it up in the third one. But you still could, I mean, like they say to somebody, here's the first movie. Bond has to do 1, 2, and 3. Okay. The director can say, fine, I can go to these locations. I can have him do these things to make this happen. I mean, you still have a ton of flexibility. So, yeah, I don't see why not. Clone Wars is really good and worth watching. Definitely passion behind it. Yeah, I'm getting it. I am really enjoying it, actually. I feel Casino Royale was ahead of its time. I totally agree with that. Any particular Bond set you wish you could have visited? Bond set, like beyond just a location, but a specific place in the location. That's interesting. Monte Carlo. That's one from GoldenEye. Where else would I like to go specifically? Like that casino in Monte Carlo. Yeah, it would have to be a place where they film like inside too. Joseph Darlington, will you scream if Purvis and Wade get to script another Bond film again? They kind of going back to what I said about how you need to be a fan, but you still need to know your craft. I kind of feel like Purvis and Wade are the fans, but they need to also bring in someone who knows their craft. When Purvis and Wade work with a secondary writer, that's when things really get good. By the way, there's a writer I've been kind of bugging on Instagram to do an interview with. I don't know if he's interested. Henry Cavill would be a great choice, Joe Salag. Yeah, listen, I'm a Cavill guy too. I kind of feel like, I think Henry Cavill would be great if they decided to go back to kind of a little lighter stuff. Stop with this brooding, miserable stuff. If you just kind of do it lighthearted, he would be perfect for that. What would be your choice for a non-Fleming book to be made into a movie? Are we talking about Bond? High Time to Kill, I think, is probably the best one I think that would really work as a movie. Raymond Benson, High Time to Kill. That's a good one. Who is your favorite Bond final? Max H, not sure what you mean. They've never missed an anniversary, so I'm still hoping for a 2020 Bond 26. 2022. My friend, I mean, like, at this rate, it's taken us 5 years to get this one. The idea that they can get another one banged out in 2 years, I think, is kind of beyond hopeful at this point. Commando Bond, gotta bounce. Take it easy, brother. Thank you for joining. Which film would you most like to have seen another actor in? For me, it's Roger Moore. And that's a very interesting question. Which actor would have been better had a different actor done it? That's interesting. That is interesting. Boy, I have to think about that one. I could see Roger Moore in You Only Live Twice. I could see Timothy Dalton in Octopussy. Well, maybe not. I think Timothy Dalton in the clown makeup would have been terrifying, frankly. Definitely think the next Bond should have a lighter tone. Nick Dunnenbach, what's going on, brother? How are you? Dalton would have been good in A View to a Kill. Yeah, it's interesting because when you sort of try to figure out this actor in that movie, you say to yourself, well, okay, but then they would have tweaked it to fit the actor. So then it's kind of hard. It's almost like trying to hit a moving target. Brosnan in The Living Daylights, kinda. I don't know. I like Dalton in Daylights just too much. Would you still like Bond in 2062 for a 100th anniversary? Will you be holding an event in 2062? How old will I be in 2062? What is it now? It's 2020. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to pull that off. I'll be 92 years old then. I don't know. All right, guys, it's 6:02. I should probably start wrapping up. Everybody else is going to go, 6:02. Past my bedtime, Commander Bond. Yeah, I think same here. Hey, Joe, Frank from Jersey. What's up, Frank from Jersey? Another Jersey guy. All right, I think I will think about wrapping this up because I got to eat dinner myself. By the way, just so you know, the party is not quite over yet. Because from Pluto with Love, a Bond community event. Check out you can check out Harris Thomas's sorry I keep going out of I gotta plan my graphics a little bit better. But there's going to be a Zoom call tonight, which again my elderly rear end is just learning about. The Bond Brain, Commando Bond, and Dressing Like Bond are the organizers. 9 p.m. So the guys who are in the U.S. who still feel like talking at 9 o'clock tonight, check out their respective Instagrams for the details. But there's a Zoom call at 9 p.m. tonight. I'm going to do my best to check that out because that'll be kind of fun. And I guess that's it. I guess I'm going to wrap up. So, guys, thank you so much for doing this. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Bond Experience. And not a Bond question, but do you like Disney Plus? I don't have it, so I really don't know. A friend of mine gets me The Mandalorian. That's how I see it. So the next live stream, what I plan to do, the next video that I put out will be the Quantum Review with Scott. And I've already asked Scott, when I release that one, would you be interested in joining for a live stream? And he has said yes. So I will have a guest star with me next time for the Quantum. That will probably be 2 weeks from today, because next weekend, of course, is the live stream. Don't forget, with Dave Zaritsky and Calvin Dyson. I will absolutely be watching that one. So check that one out. And so I figured, again, in a way to kind of fluff these out a little more, do a little more content, do stuff we can all sort of do together. Next week, check out Dave Zaritsky and Calvin Dyson. And the week after that, Scott and I will do a joint live stream, which should be a lot of fun. So I guess that's it. So again, I will say thank you very much, and I'll close this out. Thank you as always, for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Enjoy the rest of your evening, or good night to my friends overseas, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.